first, okay? And what you do is you just pick up your, I'll probably make a mess, okay? So this, hopefully there's some comedy in this. Maybe not. Just kind of pour it in slow. Don't get in a real big hurry. Just let it dribble on in. Pour up to the very top. Now, you'll have to re-pour this again, just a little bit. This will shrink down, as is will all of these, but this will shrink down a little bit. We're going to pour this one and just pour it on up to the top. Don't worry about if you run over, sometimes you do. And we're going to pour this cup right here. Maria, I didn't know which one you wanted, but this is hopefully will cover it. Now we're going to pour our little sun face, moon face, whatever kind of little face. And you're going to kind of over pour it because you're going to trim it up. And it's the same with the dragonfly here. We'll pour it all the way up and wait till it shrinks back a little, re-pour it if it needs it, and do whatever whoops, see, that's what happens sometimes. You kind of get carried away, but don't worry, this is all water soluble. You can scrape it off. It'll usually just peel right back. Okay, that's all we're going to do for right now. We're going to let this sit for just a little bit, soak up. I'll refill, and I'll show you that, and then we'll have to set them aside and let them congeal around the edges, and I'll explain all that to you. And that'll be the last step before we pour it out and let it sit and dry. We're going to do this re-pour real quick. The rest of them have shrunk up a little bit, but not much. But this will just give you some idea, especially on these 3D type molds. You can see it's dropped down the pour hole about an inch. I mean, just soaked up that much water. Now, it'd probably be okay if you didn't do this, but everybody does. They just top it off. Probably once is all you really have to do it. And depending on what you do with these other molds, you may not even have to top them off. I probably top the dragonfly off just a little bit. And we'll just go ahead and do them all. It's pretty close to lunch, and I'll leave them here while I eat. And 30-45 minutes to an hour should be a gracious plenty for them to absorb as much of the water as they're going to absorb. You can leave them here until they just about dry up and you've got walls that are very thick, but that's not the way we want to do it. So I'll come back in a little while and I'll go to the next step and explain to you what we have and why we have it. And we'll pour this one out. And lastly, we'll pour out the dragon. Now, the things like this dragonfly here, you can, if you don't want just a shell, you can just sit here, let it sit here until all the slip that you've put in there has basically turned solid. Make a nice thick dragonfly or butterfly or whatever, even this little deal right here. Depends on what you want. All that's left now is that we let these sit here until they dry enough to start to turn loose. I usually let them sit there till they will pop out on their own. By that I mean you will turn this upside down and it'll come right out, and then you'll set it aside and let it harden completely. But we'll be back when I unmold these, and then we'll explain the next step after that. Okay, these things have dried enough, I think, so we can unmold them, and they should come out just fine. We will go ahead and start with this one right here, okay? That's the one that Maria wanted to see, I think. And boom, it comes right out just like that. Pop it. Okay. And it's still kind of, you could mash it around, so we don't want to touch it too much and let it dry. The next one we'll take out is this big one right here. and it just falls right out. There you go. And unmolded that one. And let's try this one right here. Wow, they fall out so easy. So easy. And you can see that one right there. And we'll do the old dragonfly. And it fell right out. It's got some bad spots right there, but you can clean them out. That's no problem. You see the dragonfly? It'll be a ceramic dragonfly. And the last is this 3D mold right here. Let's just see what we got. Alright, you take those off, and it just comes right apart like that. And you get to take out the little rascally raccoon. Boom, that's it. I take it and just take this off right here. You can cut it off with a knife if you want to. Set it down like that. Oh, we'll get a little closer to the camera. There you go. And you let them dry. And, oh, got one more. How about that? Getting ahead of myself. And there's my little sun face. Okay? So, that's them. We're going to let them sit there overnight. Tomorrow morning, they will be leather hard.